Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
We can see your
Yeah, we can see everything.
Thank you very much. And
Okay.
we are looking forward to seeing your presentation. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Elif Büşra Önce. I'm an English lecturer at Fatih Sultan Mehmet University in Istanbul. And this is my learning process, actually. So I believe that we learn what we share. So hope we will learn today with each other. So my task was give a presentation about a topic related to your field of study. This is field of study because my students are prep university students and they are going to go to their departments. And we want them to present about their study department. And I thought it's a formative task assessment because actually this is two-part presentation. The first part is about daily presentation. We give them the topic and then they present their work and we give feedback to them, both orally and written. Then after 4 weeks, we assigned them a field of study presentation, and based on the feedback they got, they present another presentation. So let's talk about the task specifications. First one, the learners. The learners are...
Elif, I'm sorry. Would you like to make it a slideshow so we can get to see the, slides?
You can't see it right now?
You just have to click on slide gösterisi.
Yeah, I've done it, but isn't it? Can you see right now?
We see the preview of the slides.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Maybe it is because of this. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Maybe just if I click like that.
Yeah.
And then, and now you have to see it right now. Can you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
So the next one, task specifications. So the learners are university prep students, as I told you, and their English proficiency level is B1 according to the CFR. And for the task, our main aim is students will be able to give presentation on their major related topics confidently, fluently, through both verbal and non-verbal communication. Of course, we have another sub skills like they will be able to gain and reflect self-confidence when delivering presentation in public or conveying message without misinterpretation or misleading others. But our main object is this. And the second one, I thought this task is constructed response because students are expected to construct the information by giving presentation. And I thought this task is a formative criteria-based task because I will show you the criteria of the rating scale in a minute. And the delivery mode is in-class presentation. The time allocation, 2 weeks for preparation and 45 minutes for delivery. And as for the scoring and feedback, the scoring is analytic scale out of 15. And there's one rater, which is me, the teacher of the class. And we did calibration sessions before the semester begins. I will talk about this later. And we give them self-checklist because there are 2 presentations and we want them to make sure that they are track down their work, both in the first presentation and the second one. And the last one is the feedback is generally for the second presentation is given by the teacher. It's an oral feedback. And this is the rating scale. So it consists of 3 parts: the language use, task fulfillment, and flow and presenting skills. Language use generally talks about the vocabulary and the grammar part of the presentation and the presenter. And the second one, task fulfillment. This is mostly about the PPT or the presenting tool, the explanation, of course, and the time management. And the last one is about the presenter's presenting skill. And this is all evaluated by 5 out of 5 each part. And the next one is it reliable and valid? For the reliability, rater and rating scale. So rater is, there's only one rater. This is not a fully reliable task, but we try to compensate this one by designing calibration sessions, conducting calibration sessions before the semester begin, with all teachers come together and they evaluate, measure some writings according to the rating scale, some writings presentation according to the rating scale. That's why we can compensate this one. And for the validity, our objective is measuring presenters' presenting skills mainly. So the rating scale has a presenting part, both language use and the content of the presentation. So I thought use the symbol. This is the symbol of our course. So I thought the task is reliable, both reliable and valid. And finally, how can we adapt this task for different levels and contexts? We can differentiate we can do differentiation on presentation topics. For example, for the lower levels, we can make it not field related presentation, but we can make it a daily topics, or we can adjust the time allocation for the lower levels. Maybe it can be limitation, more limited. And we can do piloting and conducting a needs analysis before use this task, so that we can see what our students need. So this is it, I guess. Thank you for listening to me. I thought the best part of learning is sharing what you know. I hope you learned something what I share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Elif. Of course we do, as always, because we always learn from each other. We keep learning from each other. And I think Olga is the next presenter, but before Olga, of course, any questions, anything that you'd like to add about Elif's presentation? She presented a task, and maybe you have an idea to adapt it to your own context.
Elif, I have a question, if I may. Have you used this task?
Yes. Actually, we are going to use this, but we use the first presentation. I mean, they gave presentation about the topics we gave, but they always do the second task, field-related study presentation. But this is my first year in the university, so I haven't used that yet.
And have you conducted the standardization session with the raters?
Yeah.
How did it go? What kind of issues have you talked about the most?
Actually, yeah. Before the semester begins, we got together with the teachers, and they gave us a writing scale and speaking skills, presentation skills. These are all different, of course. So they gave us tasks, the written tasks of students from the last year, and they want us to rate them. And we gave points according to the rating scale. And then we talked about the issues that we had difficulty or we have difference. Of course, there should be difference between raters, but they accept 4 points difference. But if the score is more than 4 between 2 raters, we got together with that rater and we discussed about the points. Why did we give this point, and what is the item that we had a difficulty in? And then after the calibration, we talked, and then we gave report to the management, and they changed it.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I tell something? I think it's a wonderful idea this kind of presentation, because you give your students the freedom to talk, to present themselves, their work, the things that they are studying, and this is really important for preparatory courses like this. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Eve. I think there are no other comments about your presentation. Great work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I think we have Olga next. Yeah, hearts to you too. Olga, ready to present your task? Yes.
So, nice to meet you all, and thank you. Can you hear me, and can you see my presentation?
Yes, of course.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to participate in the session. Actually, it's my first experience of participating in the sessions like that, and it was a great experience, I should say. I have learned a lot from my colleagues. So first, let me introduce myself a bit. So my name is Olga Prokopyuk. I'm from Belarus. I teach at Brest Technical University. I teach first and second year students. So the level of proficiency can be different from A2 to B2 or even C1. So sometimes it's very hard to differentiate tasks for them. And I teach technical English, and our courses are integrated with specialized courses, and we do a lot of reading, specialized reading. That is why I decided to develop reading assessment tasks. And when we assess reading, we should know what to assess. So you can, on the slide, you can see different skills we can assess, and I try to assess when create my tasks. So it's predictive skills, extracting specific information, getting the general picture, extracting detailed information, recognizing functions and discourse patterns, deducing meaning from context. And
sorry to interrupt, ma'am, but I can't see slides.
Can you say
Slides
that
are
again?
not
I'm sorry.
moving, Olga.
I can't hear. Can you say that again?
Sure. The slides, your slides are not moving. We see assessing reading, and we see the preview, not the slideshow version.
Oh, then I'm actually. And
You
what about now?
can click on stop sharing, and then once you share again, you can click on share the whole screen.
So.
Okay.
That's great. Now we can see it. Thank you so very much. Please continue.
Sorry for that. Oh. And when I was designing my task, I was trying to keep in mind the level of difficulty. And when I choose the reading material, the text, I always try to choose something that relates to my students' specialization area. And I try to use authentic text, though it can be sort of hard, as I'm not specialist in IT sphere or mechanical engineering sphere, only in English. So the appropriate time is also important. And I tried to make the items for the test a bit easier than the text itself. So I can include different types of tasks: selected response task, semi-productive, and productive. So now let's move to the task I have developed. So you can see the instruction: read the text below and mark the following statements as true, false. and not stated. This is the selected response task, and you can see the sample of the text. Actually, the text was extracted from Oxford English for Information Technology. And I was told by one of the moderators that it is a bit complicated to technical, but as I teach technical students, I think it should be technical. So the second task is also selected response task. You can see the instruction. The text has 8 paragraphs, which paragraph contains the following information. So the students are to fill in the boxes with letters. And the last task is semi-productive. Complete the summary of the text with the words from the text. And I can also offer my students a productive task. I can ask them to explain what an object-oriented programming is using their own examples from their coding experience. And if I offer this task, I use analytical scale to assess them. And so this is my assessment task evaluation. So I believe that it is formative assessment and it is aimed at first-year students, proficiency level B2. It is assigned in class, time allocation 45 minutes. So the students are given 1 mark for correct answer and 0 for incorrect. And after the students have completed the task, we check it and discuss it. So I give them a detailed oral feedback if they can understand something or disagree with some points. And what concerns reliability, I consider this task to be reliable as subjectivity is minimized, and I believe that it is valid as it checks reading skills. And I will be glad to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you so very much, Olga. That was great.
Thank you.
So, any questions or comments or feedback for Olga? Yes, Ajay?
Okay, thank you very much. Olga, thank you for your presentation. My question would be about the detailed feedback that you give to the students. Because the task, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, is in the form of a gap fill activity. And I was just wondering how detailed your feedback could be about a gap fill activity. It seems to me that there are straightforward answers there. And yes, it's quite technical, but I understand that you're teaching ESP and your students are already familiar with these technical words, the technical vocabulary. But then again, I'd like to hear more about the type of feedback that you give to them. Could you please share more about that?
So, as I have said, we just discuss with the students the tasks and the right answers. So, and I explain them if they do not understand something. And if I offer them to tell me about object-oriented programming using their examples, then I can give them some feedback on their vocabulary range or grammar range and accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And task fulfillment.
Thank you, Olga. And I think Antonios also is waiting to ask a question. Okay. Yes, Antonios?
Yeah. Olga, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I would like to ask something which is on my interests. You said at the beginning of your presentation that you take into consideration the difficulty. And I'm wondering if you're talking about the total task difficulty or the text difficulty, or a combination. This is the first part of my question, and the second one is how you measure the difficulty of a task. In what way, technically talking?
Okay, thank you for the question. So I try to use the combination. So I try to differentiate students and can divide them into different groups, as it is really a problem. As for example, I can have A1 in the same group. I can have A1 student and B2 or C1. So I try to differentiate both tests, texts and tasks. So I just give them different tasks. So as I think it is impossible to use, almost impossible to use the same text with some of them. And if there are groups that have B1 and B2 students, then I can use the same task and the same text, but just offer some help. So they can ask some questions, they can explain some words, and help students with the tasks. Have I answered your question?
Okay, so you're talking about...
By the way, I'm sorry for interrupting you. And I guess you were one of the experts who saw my task, and thank you for the link. So I will use it to define the level of the test. It's very useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too.
Hello everyone, my name is Irina Leshenko and I teach English at Sumy State University. I'm going to present my ideas on assessors speaking, having completed the task in the language assessment literacy course. The aim of this task is to create task specification on speaking skills for my law students. This task will be assessed on language, delivery, content, time management, use of visual aids, organization, so number of some characteristics referring to oral presentation. This task is designed for summative assessment. The grade level is ranged from weak to high, where 28 is the sum of all highest grades in all components considered. The task is designed for the students of intermediate level. The delivery mode is in form of oral presentation. Time allotted is 5 minutes. The weighting of items is equally split between the list of components: content, task fulfillment, delivery, use of visual aids, organization, language related to grammar and vocabulary, and time management. We do agree that this list is open to interpretation with the possibility to include other components for assessing features bound to oral presentation, like enthusiasm, eye contact, pronunciation, gestures, or something. So I'm going to delve into the component description. Content is assessed by the relevance of information here. And task fulfillment assessment addresses satisfying the demands of the task and covering a number of content points. Delivery relates to the manner of speaking. Delivery also can include such aspects as body language, facial expression, eye contact, or gestures. Use of visual aids is assessed by technical literacy and balance support with illustration and attractiveness. Organization is assessed by the structure, format, and balance information allotment between the parts of presentation. Language is assessed by the level of control of grammar, forms, and vocabulary pertain to the presentation topic. Time management relates to the ability to fit the time allowed. To our mind, reliability may be increased due to multi-tiered evaluation of the components assessed together with language. And validity can be strengthened by increasing the number of components in the assessment grid and dealing with assessing the different dimensions of the same quality. Like, for example, delivery can be assessed by manner of speaking, enthusiasm, body language, eye contact, or everything like that. So this short presentation has covered the main aspects in designing the task specification for assessing speaking. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Reynolds. I'm an English teacher in Japan, and today I'm going to talk about the assessment task that I evaluated. I teach university students, and for this particular task, the students in the class are intermediate level. The task is a summative writing essay that's done at the end of a unit in which students read and watch the movie of The Imitation Game. Students complete an outline, a first draft. They get feedback from their peers and the teacher on the first draft, and then complete a final draft for the final score. They can choose one of the 4 topics that are listed, and for each topic, they have to include some kind of example or thing from the movie or the book. The original checklist for the assessment is graded on the criteria of content, language, organization, and process. And this makes up 30 points. From this activity where we evaluated our tasks, I got a lot of good feedback from partners here in the class, and here are some ideas that I have to change this assessment. First, I'm thinking of rewriting the checklist into a rubric so that students get more targeted feedback on their task achievement, the coherence and cohesion of their writing, vocabulary, and grammar and mechanics. So for the first and the second draft, I would use the same rubric for those so that they can more easily compare their progress from draft 1 to draft 2. And the best scored draft will be added to their process points for the final score. I think the process points are weighted a little bit heavy, so maybe reduce those a little bit more and give more points to draft 1 and draft 2. For this type of activity, this type of task, it could be adapted, especially for other contexts. It could be used for any other kind of writing assessment, where students are doing process writing. And especially for different levels, I think the target criteria that you're looking for, whether it's specific vocabulary or specific skills when it comes to the structure of the essay that students need to work on, or that they're learning during that particular unit, those can be included. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to hear some interesting comments from your discussion. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sydney. I'm a teacher of English at the Escola Oficial de Idiomas de Tarragona, and I'm going to present 2 tasks, 2 assessment tasks. Number 1, a summative assessment task, writing an opinion essay based on different sources. What is our objective? It's to write an opinion essay selecting information from different sources. I'm going to take a stepwise approach, meaning that before we take the big assessment task or activity, I'm going to train my students. First, I'm going to ask them to write an essay about a topic. Then I will ask them to do the same thing but using an article as support, and then the same thing but using an article and video as support. Okay. Then we use a rubric for teacher-peer self-assessment feedback. And then the big day comes. Not so big since I've had lots of practice, but that's the goal. Okay. The assessment activity is 90 minutes long, and they'll have to watch a video once because they're all in a room, the same room. So that I would play the video once, they'll take notes, then they would read an article as many times as they want, okay? And then they will have to write an opinion essay. The criteria is planning 4 points, references to source A, the article, 4 points, references to source B, 4 points, that's the video, and then 4 points for how they use the language and the ideas in the article, 4 points, okay? Whether they are relevant or not, okay? Good. How can we adapt it to different levels? Well, texts of different degrees of difficulty, and then surely pilot before using anything, okay? Task 2. This one's focused on formative assessment, introduce co-creation of a rubric when writing summaries. How are we going to do that? We'll analyze the model summary. We'll try to answer the following 2 questions. What are the formal aspects and the linguistic aspects when writing a summary? Then each group reports back to the class. And then we do a selection of items in order to build the criteria together, the rubric together. And then we use the rubric on a different summary, okay, and see if it works. What has changed in students? Well, students now see that there are different types of assessment and they can get feedback from different sources, peer assessment, self-assessment, teacher assessment. And how can we adapt it to different levels? Well, same thing, texts of different degrees of difficulty, maybe given more time, let them watch the video more than once, which was one of my suggestions. One of the suggestions from one of my peers in the course, and surely again pilot before using it. So this is it. Thank you for watching.
Hello everybody, I'm Isaac, and of course I'll have to say a big thanks to the moderators for such a wonderful time instructing us and helping us. Anyway, I'll quickly move to my presentation. I picked a summative assessment task, and particularly an opinion or rather argumentative essay, which is based on 3 important things: the essay topic, 2 ideas for the students, and finally the student is also expected to generate 1 idea. The objective of the test, we have at least 4 things that we need the students to demonstrate. Number 1, we want them to show their knowledge of the given subject matter. Usually they will argue for or against the topic. And number 2, how they organize their ideas. In this case, we are looking at paragraphs and other things. We are also looking at the appropriate writing style. And finally, we are also wanting to see how their grammar is. Are they able to use complex structures, simple structures? How about their word choice and things like that? For a build up to the task, I would say that we properly orient them on the rubrics so that they know what is tested, how it is scored, and that has helped us to help the students improve in terms of peer assessment, so self-assessment, and of course, we have also noticed that they are self-motivated. Quickly to the task, as I said before, it's an essay, and as you can see, we have the topic question with a final question there, do you agree? So they have to pick where they belong. We have 2 given ideas, and finally they have to come up with their own idea. They are needed to write between 140 to 190 words, and of course we time it at 40 minutes. For the marking criteria, which is quite important, we actually look at 4 different things. Number 1, it's content. Number 2, it's language. We also look at communicative achievement, and finally the organization. As I said before, we just want to see how they use their grammar, complex structures, simple structures. We want to see how relevant the task is. We want to see how they organize their work. We want to see whether the targeted reader is fully informed. Looking at the feedback process, we have two stages. Stage number one is where we mark the papers, we grade them, we record their scores, and we also give a written feedback. Stage two is based on the feedback, and they have to do their work again. They will submit again. The teacher will also look at it. They will make a final correction and they will discuss them in groups. Remember, at this point, we do not grade. Finally, on validity and reliability, I was looking at three important things: content, context, and scoring. As far as content is concerned, the Cambridge material that we use are already researched. They're actually well researched, they're pre-tested, and they're given for use after all that process. For context, of course, we usually pick the appropriate task and we compile the results and release them properly. And that brings us to the scoring, where we first of all make sure that whoever is doing the test is a B2 level student, and we make sure that teachers are well trained so that they are consistent with the marking and the rules, the rubrics, right? And finally, we make sure that this will help the learners to see their actual score. Sometimes we get even two teachers to mark the same paper. Finally, we also have to look at adaptation for different levels. And in this case, I think one of the things that can be done here is depending on the level, the upper level or the lower level, you can increase the word count, you can reduce it. You can also pre-test new rubrics. If you're going to be going to a new level, you have to make sure that you're testing the correct things and you're valid with your testing, and it's also reliable. Of course, you can adapt the topics to the realities of the surrounding and the level, the vocabulary level, the expected level of the students. Finally, I think you can also just go for the ready-made sources. We have different well-researched and well-done sources. Thank you very much once again. It was nice connecting with everybody. I really enjoyed, and I hope I'll see everyone once again someday. I don't know where, but I just hope. So thank you, everybody.
Hello, dear all language assessment literacy moderators and fellow participants. My name is Elena. I teach English as a foreign language at a secondary school. Today, I would like to present to you my assessment evaluation task for the course. This is the reading test I gave my 11th graders last academic year. It is a 15-minute part of the larger summative assessment I made to monitor their learning achievements at the end of Module 1. These texts were taken from the test booklet for Spotlight on English 11 because they contained the vocabulary and grammar the students had already revised. As for the assessment items, I designed them myself. In the booklet, there were 5 special questions after the text for scanning information only. Though my primary aim was to create a test focused on assessing search reading skills, I would like the task to be more versatile and require some higher order thinking skills too. That's why I paraphrased the items so that they could not be located word by word, and the students needed to make inferences like here, or find the arguments like here. I included both constructed and selected responses, like this true-false item based on reading between the lines. Finally, I got a complex assessment involving selective and, to some degree, careful reading skills. They recommend adding examples, but there are no examples here. All the items of this task are different, right? And I was afraid that incorporating examples would be redundant rather than helpful. I put how many points each item is on the handout for my students to see. The items that consist of two parts, write two reasons here and write the proverbs here, are 2 points. The task on reading between the lines is also 2 points. The other ones are 1 point each. I got an insightful feedback from the course moderator, Anna, and changed my opinion on spelling and grammar mistakes in this task. I decided not to penalize the answers because of them, keeping in mind that the aim of the task is to assess reading skills, not spelling and grammar. Originally, this task was intended for a mixed-level class of A2 and B1 students. While taking the language assessment course, I started doubting if it was appropriate in terms of equity and validity. And after the colleagues' feedback, I decided it was necessary to further differentiate the assessment. The task will be for B1 students only. A2 students will be given a similar task with similar items, but based on another text with a bit simplified structure. Now I know how to check the text readability. I learned it during this course. I tried this task as a summative assessment face-to-face in the classroom, and the students got feedback in the next class. But I think that the task can be also used online, both as a summative and formative assessment. It can be adapted to Google Forms, for example. Then the students can discuss their mistakes live. They can do some ipsative tasks to practice the sub-skill that was the most challenging for them. To sum it up, I think the answers are pretty straightforward to check. The task consists of a few types of items, but not many, because it is a part of a larger one. However, these items are paraphrased and cannot be located word by word. The scoring criteria are transparent for test takers. In my opinion, all these things make the test quite reliable and valid. Thank you.
Hello, this is Efrosini Zoniou from Greece, presenting her evaluation task designed for EVO 2022 LAL. I'll start by describing my teaching context and the learners the task target. Then I'll go through the task itself, showing the preparation process that leads to it, the student document, and the rating scales used for evaluation of writing skills. Lastly, I'll indicate how this task can be adapted for other learners and contexts. I teach young learners in a private language school in Greece, and this task is aimed at 11 to 13-year-olds at the beginning of the class that will bring them to B1 plus level. Most of my learners seek international language certification at B2 level, and this means that in my daily practice, I face the challenge of reconciling two conflicting demands: the need for authentic activities for learners with limited world experience on the one hand, and the requirements of exam training on the other. This conflict and the need to compromise can be seen in the task and the discussion too. My proposed activity is assigned for formative purposes and hopes to focus on learning-oriented assessment. It assesses the ability to write an article narrating and describing a personal experience, the best holiday, for an intended international teenage readership. Students are expected to produce around 120 words in 45 minutes in class. This time is necessary for my less confident learners, also given that a plan is required. The written production is evaluated with an analytic scale according to 4 equally weighted criteria, as we will see. Prior to the assignment, a similar task is presented in class. First, the rubric is analyzed in detail. Next, a good model is read and students are invited to notice important features. In the third step, practice is provided in the targeted language together with useful language boxes. Let's look at the task now. This is what the student document looks like. Taking a closer look, we can see that the situation that provides the target audience adds to the plausibility of the task. The announcement that gives the topic length and text type itself could be improved in authenticity. However, I had to sacrifice it for simplicity and clarity's sake. Next, bullet points regarding content to cover are provided for support. The plan is also required to isolate work on content from work on form, thus simplifying learners' tasks. Learners are encouraged to edit their work carefully with the aid of a checklist reminding them of all important aspects to check. Lastly, the evaluation criteria are visible to the learners to whom a simplified rating scale has been explained together with the descriptors. The emphasis here is on analytic feedback on each criterion, giving credit for successful features and actionable tips on areas for improvement. At my school, we also accompany our detailed feedback with a numeric or verbal mark to help learners see where they stand, how much progress they have achieved. Here is the raters marking scale with an explanation of each criterion, including task-specific points in red, and the descriptors of each band from 5 and 4 for above average performance, through 3 for satisfactory performance, and 2 and 1 for below average performance. And finally, could this task be adapted to fit other contexts and levels? The topic is one that's relevant to any age group and suitable for lower levels also, with appropriate scaffolding though. The narrative descriptive article is also useful for both lower and higher levels. At higher levels, it could regard experiences that are not so common, not personal, and require formal register. The detailed feedback table is beneficial for all contexts, but the criteria and descriptors in the scale should be modified according to the level and the task type, of course. Scaffolding may not be needed at higher levels, but more support may be required at lower levels on the other hand. The preparation at the pre-writing stage, with the process of writing broken down in progressive steps, is always relevant. The topic, text type will determine the focus of the practice. Thank you all for your attention.
Hi friends, my name is Üstün Kaplan, Yaşar Üstün Kaplan. I am an instructor at Bingöl University. I have been teaching English for 10 years, and also I am a PhD student, and I am really interested in testing and assessment in language teaching. For this reason, these are helpful for me. It's very fruitful for me. Thanks to these education, thanks to these modules, I have increased my knowledge about testing and assessment in language teaching very much. I thank you for the organizing committee. Today I am going to present my reading assessment that I prepared for this platform. I will read my students' reading skills formatively, and my objectives is to read about my objectives are to read about the text and answering the questions, assessing different skills such as reading for the main idea and reading for the details. By doing this, I try to assess whether my students can use their top-down skills and bottom-up processing skills or not. And in order to achieve my goals, I included 4 tasks into my reading evaluation. The first one is finding a suitable title. Students are going to generate a suitable title after they have read the text and understood it very well. Then they are going to generate a suitable title for the whole text. Then matching activity comes, and there are different subtitles of each subparagraphs of the reading text, and students are going to read each paragraph and they choose a possible subtitle given in the table. And then true-false activity comes, and students are going to read the sentences given underneath the reading passage, and they will decide whether these sentences are true or not according to the passage they read. Also, not stated is included in order to minimize the guesses, and I did this for increasing the reliability. Sorry. My students are prep class students, and their language background is not too high. Their level is B1, and selected and constructed format are used in this evaluation, and 30 minutes are given for this evaluation. After grading, students will be provided with oral feedback, and if it is really necessary, written feedback also can be given. In order to increase the reliability and validity, I gave clear instruction to the students, and I included not stated into true-false activity, and physical conditions also influence the reliability of a test. For this reason, I try to prepare the classroom for the assessment, and cheating will be prevented, and teacher will be effective proctor, and iterate reliability also will be enhanced. In order to increase the validity, content validity and construct validity will be considered, and face validity will be enhanced. Test items are in line with the objectives and skills which are aimed to be assessed. Here you see the link of the reading passage. Now, reading assessment, if you like, you can see the reading assessment that I prepared for you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing fine and good. My name is Mohammed Al-Shaban. I'm an English teacher in the Ministry of Education in Saudi Arabia. I'm presenting for you the reading task assessment, and I've chosen this assessment for the formative assessment phase, which is about a text reading, and we have the question about the multiple choice question. And sorry, just for disruption. Okay, what are the objectives for this test? Okay, which is to assess the students' ability for reading skills, which is about the reading for gist or comprehension or main idea comprehension, and also about the detailed readings, and to increase the skills of skimming and scanning in this context. How can we achieve these objectives? The first one about to practice for 2 steps. It is to practice similar task, to read a task and to specify it for the general ideas, so for a task for reading for gist, for general ideas, and to answer the question related to this main point. And to need another time for the another task to answer the detailed questions. This is for students that they discover that for reading a text, there are many stages, for many steps to find out any information, any data related to this task. Then we're going to use a rubrics. This rubric is very important for teachers and for the assessment types, like for the peer assessment and self-assessment. So the students, they can say they can evaluate themselves to say about their ability for the reading skills based on the rubric categories, and also they can evaluate each other, which is for peace assessment. They can discover about some other points from other students, and they can help support each other. And the last step about the progress test or achievement test, which is about part of the formative assessment, which is the beginning phase of the assessment for the other assessment, like the exit test or summative assessment. The day of reading task has a duration of 45 minutes. So the students during that time read the text and answer the following question. And the scoring criteria is based on 12 grades, and each point is out of two grades. And I just mentioned and clarified about the rubrics for reading is just to clarifying about the real performance of the students and how can we answer and to find out the teacher just find out did they practice about, for example, reading for comprehension main idea, detailed readings, and so on. How can we adapt it into different levels? Of course, practice and reading different authentic texts, which is away from the course book, to see the students different tasks, different style, different registers for the reading tasks that they can have expand their background of reading skills, expand their vocabulary and background of other topics, contexts, maybe similar to the course book, but it's from different resource. And about the rubrics, it's to practice each form in this text. For example, about the reading for the main idea for the of reading for this is to practice it for this text. How can we apply it? And other one, reading for details, and so on. And the last thing, which is the most important one, to pilot it, to pilot this test or this task for no grade, for any assessment, just for to be used to be familiar with this type of assessment. This is all for me, and I hope you had a good time with me. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Mirjana Zubak-Mičetić and I am presenting you from Zagreb, Croatia. I am a teacher of English language in elementary school, and here is my listening assessment task for the 6th graders and the task evaluation. So the task was, in short, something we are all familiar with. The students had to read the sentences, listen to the paragraph, fill in one word, and then listen again to check. After our peer evaluation and after our task here in week 4 and week 5, I have decided to include one more sentence in the instructions. So I decided to add, you do not have to write the word correctly, because I was not assessing spelling or writing. I was assessing listening, understanding. So overall, here is my, in short, task evaluation. So we are assessing listening for specific information. The students had to fit one word into the surrounding words. The purpose was summative, but after our analysis and discussion in week 4, I also decided that it can be used as a formative and diagnostic purpose. The task format is we went through delivery mode and all that on the previous slide. It was maximum 10 minutes that I spent for this task, and the scoring was 2 points. I have to say, washback from my students wasn't so good regarding these 2 points, so they didn't understand it. Through the discussion in our week 4, and thanks to our moderators' responses, I have also decided to expand the task and to cover some other points, such as discriminatory issues regarding the students who know better and the students who know who have a lower knowledge in listening skills. We should, or I should maybe add some more tasks regarding this listening assessment. So maybe add some true, false sentences, matching questions with short answers. Also, the scoring would then be much nicer for my students, and they would not have to wonder why they got 2 points for each sentence and why there is only 10 points for this listening assessment evaluation. That was not quite they were not quite happy with that. After each task we do and assessment we make a discussion in the class. The students who did not know the words, they write the words down in their notebooks. They learn how to write them. also correctly. We discussed the task itself, how difficult they found it, what did they like about it, what they didn't like about it. So we can always improve our assessments. I will also say thank you to my colleagues who were evaluating my task and who were giving me this extra informations, what we could do with the task and how we can improve the task. How to adopt the task for some different levels. For example, for some higher levels, we can shorten the time for the task. We can also connect it with some other skills, such as writing skills. And we can, for example, listen to write maybe short summary of the paragraph they were listening to, or maybe we can even make a gap text so they can listen and just fill in the words in the gap text. So thank you for your attention. I hope I was not too long, and I have to thank everybody in this language assessment literacy EVO course this year, and I'm saying goodbye and greetings from Zagreb.